What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sunday special. So, despite my feelings on the biblical, the trustworthiness of the biblical narrative and the books themselves and the writers, I wanted to give you my two favorite Bible stories that are the most badass. These are the most manly Bible stories there is. The first one is Stephen spelled wrong. So Stephen spelled wrong he's an early disciple of Jesus. So we're told. This is the story that someone told us. We don't know if it's true. It's a story that's in there to teach us a lesson. So Stephen spelled wrong. He's a zealot, man, and he goes up to the people who killed Jesus, and he says, he calls them out on their shit. He's like, look, not only did you guys kill the Messiah, you dumbasses, but you've been doing this forever because you're basically the worst fucking people around. You're the worst fucking people around. You've been doing this shit forever. And you killed the Messiah, and shame on you, you evil people. And they get really mad about this, and they kill him. And, it's pretty badass. It's a pretty badass story. My other favorite story from the Bible is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which actually weren't their names. Those were the names that were given to them when they were in captivity. But anyway, the king, emperor of the Babylonians, I believe it's the Babylonians, pretty sure, about 99% sure. Nebuchadnezzar, you should, so just going back, this if you are a Christian and you have the Bible app, you should look up the Complete Jewish Bible because it's pretty neat. So a lot of the names are spelled different and they're pronounced different. And the books in the Old Testament are in a different order. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to read and see the difference between they have different names for priests and different names for God and Lord and stuff. It's pretty neat to see how the spellings are different. But anyway, so these three guys, right? Nebuchadnezzar, he puts up a statue, and he's like, everyone must bow down to this statue, and everybody does except these three guys. And they're like, nah, we're good. We're not going to do that. And he was like, how dare you? He was like, you will bow down to this statue. This is your last chance. Bow down to this statue. I'm going to burn you alive. Again, we don't know if this story is true. We have no reason to believe that it's true, but it's a cool story nonetheless. And they're just like, no, dude. Our convictions are so strong in what we feel is true that we're not going to do that. We would rather die than to kneel. Ooh, man, that's a badass fucking story. And so what ends up happening is they end up being thrown in there and they get rescued by God. Like I said, we have no reason to believe that this story is true or that it ever happened, but it is a fantastic story. And so these stories can teach us things, as in you shouldn't compromise on your values. Okay, this is how respect is built, and this is how self-respect is built, and this is how people this is how people get remembered. Think about poor baby's crying. I think she's sick. But the people that we remember are the people that stood up for what they believed in unwaveringly, right? The reason that everybody remembers the Christian martyrs if they were martyred. We don't even know if they were martyred. Or, well, let me explain that. We know that a lot of them were killed. We don't know if they were killed because of X. We just know that they were killed. But the stories of the martyrs that that are told, I mean, that's why we revere these people. That's why that's why they're held in high esteem. It's because they didn't give in to their, they held strong in the storm, and that's admirable for anybody. Anybody that isn't a fucking pushover is due some respect, no matter what your beliefs are. I mean, even these fucking jihadists, dumb fucks that want to blow themselves up, man, they're fucking convicted, right? A lot of them are. Some of them are actually made to do it, which is really fucking sad. But like, if you're like a legit like jihadist martyr, that there's a fraction of respect that's due to this person that's willing to blow themselves up to make a point, And it's the same with anybody. If you have a strong conviction, and you're willing to die for it, that's admirable, no matter what it is. Because most people aren't like that. Most people are. There, a great movie called Kingdom of Heaven. I don't think it got a lot of praise in its day. I don't know why, but it's a fantastic movie. But there's a part in the end where Jerusalem is under siege, and they're like, basically they're outnumbered, outgunned. They've got like kids with swords and shit, and the priest, the cardinal, whatever he is, the main guy, the Christian guy, is like, convert to Islam, repent later. And everybody's just like, what the fuck? Like, don't be that guy, right? Be the Christian guy who's gonna be like, look, this is what I'm going with, right? And have some fucking balls. Don't be a pussy. That's the Sunday special. Don't be a fucking pussy. If you don't have conviction, first of all, it would be a good idea for you to consciously choose things to be convicted about, right? And God, as painful as it is to say, even these people who are like hardcore BLM people, or these hardcore leftists, look, if they're willing to I don't know, die or go to jail or whatever, and they're really convicted in their beliefs, I mean, there's something to be said about being on the battlefield with a fucking machine gun and the people are just running at you. Damn. Like, damn, these people are awfully brave. Like, there's a level of respect there, right? Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know why they're so stupid, but damn, they sure are brave, And I don't know, I think there was a philosopher one time that equated bravery to stupidity. I don't really remember, but fuck it, be brave, right? Be brave, be stupid. This life as we know it isn't the most important thing ever. We've talked about it. Death is not the end. Death is not the, oh my God, terrible, awful thing. Be the stupid guy in the scary movie that dies first because he ran outside to see what the hell that scary noise was. I don't know. Have some fucking balls. Have some fucking balls. Right? Especially when you're young, have balls. Don't be, have some balls. Of course, don't be all ball. Right? Don't be all balls. Don't go full fucking retard. But like, choose your convictions well. If I'm, say for example, and this is such a real world scenario. I'm at the mall. Malls don't really exist anymore, but say I'm at the movie theater. Okay, I'm at the movie theater, which I'm not going to because, first of all, I can't sit still for 3 fucking hours. Why does every movie have to be 2.5 fucking hours? Fuck you, motherfucker. You're just trying to rob me of my fucking time. But say I'm at the movie theater, okay? And somebody rushes in with a gun, okay? You know what my first fucking instinct is? Run! run. Like, I'm running like a fucking coward, although it's not fucking cowardly to fucking run away from someone shooting at you, okay? It isn't. Especially if you have things to protect, or maybe you have something to fucking live for, right? But there's a scenario where you don't run. Maybe because you can't. Maybe because when the fucker walks in and starts shooting, he's right fucking next to you. And even if you ran, you ain't getting away. You're gonna get shot in the back. So you gotta fight, right? And that's a sucky scenario. And that's a scenario where your bravery would have to outweigh your thoughts of survival, right? But so, yeah, you know, whether or not these Bible stories are true or not, it isn't really the point. They're meant to teach us something. You know, the David and Goliath story, there's no reason to believe that it's true, but it's a story that's told. Why? Because you've got this young, inexperienced boy who is so convicted that he's going to be vindicated, right? Even in death, even if he were to die, he would be vindicated. He's so convicted of that he's willing to take on a seasoned killer who's 2, 3, 4 times his size. Right? And then, of course, in the story, he wins. There's something to just, like, having the conviction to sort of take on the world, you know, or take on somebody, you know. I mean, it almost even comes with the conviction to just go outside. Like, some people are so pathetic and so scared that that just going out into the world. And I'm talking mostly, like, I'm talking to the men in this video, okay? Because as you have noticed, all of these stories that I've told you have been about men, because bravery and courage and those things, these are men words. These are words that men use. These are attributes that men should have. Women, no, okay? So, but like a man who is like locked in his basement, I'm in a basement, but I'm not locked in, but, and who just sits around and plays video games all day and orders DoorDash and all this stuff and sort of caves himself in. This is a coward. This is a fucking pussy. And we know this. So it takes some courage even to just fucking leave the house and to go out in the world and to try to make something happen. Whether it's a job and money, or whether it's going out, like, instead of jerking off to your fucking porn in the basement, is like going out and actually meeting a woman. Like, it takes some courage just to get the fuck out of the house sometimes. But that's what you should do. That's why these stories, man, that's why we have these stories. Look at Samson. Samson was a beast of a man, right? And he was so pissed at the end, right before he died. He's so pissed at the end. He's like, I know I'm going to die, but I'm taking all these motherfuckers with me, right? That's a great story, too. Maybe that's number 3 on the list. You know, Samson's not a character that you want to emulate in any other way, right? He's kind of almost a little simpy when it comes to the girls. He has got all these women, but they're all like, you don't love me because you won't tell me the truth. And he's like, fuck, this bitch is nagging me all the time. And he ends up giving in to her, right? And it ends up being his downfall. This is a story. Maybe we make a separate video about this story. You know, and like relationship dynamics and men and women and all this. But in the end, what does he say? He says, fuck these motherfuckers. I know I'm gonna die, but I'm taking as many of y'all with me as I can fucking handle. And he looks up to God and he says, God, give me strength one more time. right? These are inspiring stories. It doesn't matter if they're true. They're inspiring, and they're meant to be inspiring. That's the point of them, right? That's the point of stories like Hercules and Achilles, and we have real life people who we actually know that they existed, and they have fantastic stories too. People like Alexander and Julius Caesar and Scipio Africanus, and the closer you get to modern day, the less of these people there are. But you have these stories of these people who are like larger than life characters that grab life by the balls and say, "Fuck you." Those are your heroes, man. There's a lot of them in the Bible. There's a lot of them outside the Bible, right? But look at these people and study them. What are their convictions, right? Maybe your conviction is God. Maybe your conviction is honor. Maybe your conviction is, I don't know. Besides honor and God, man, I mean, those seem like the biggest ones. Those seem like the most important ones. So, right, I don't know. Maybe it's fame, right? You want to be remembered. Yeah, like that's why these stories exist. That's why these stories are cool. That's why that we should all sort of seek to emulate the specific archetype of these people, not the people themselves, because they're all flawed. All of them were flawed, right? Samson had issues with women. David had issues with women. David might have been gay. He was probably a rapist, the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we don't really know much about them outside of that story. Who else? Stephen spelled wrong. We don't really know much of him outside that story. But like Achilles, he was very prideful. Hercules, I don't really know much about the Hercules story. Who else did I mention? Alexander was great, but Alexander didn't. He conquered the probably more territory than anybody else up till Genghis Khan, but he had a hard time, I think, like controlling it all, and he died young from I want to say pneumonia, but I'm not really sure. And then Julius Caesar, my favorite character of all time. The women were his Achilles heel too, as they are for most of us, or a lot of us. But anyway, there's still a central archetype of the man, the fucking man, the authentic man who has an ideal outside of himself that he aspires to be, that he looks up to, that he wants to be, and unapologetically and with conviction that it's either this or death. And that's something we should all aspire to. And we should all read these stories as stories of inspiration, not stories of truth, but stories of what can I take from this character and I can put into me? What attribute of this character can make me better? All right, that's it.